So we have to take some of our income and turn it into capital. If we have a job where we're making $1,000 a week, $500 a week, that is income. The moment where you take that $1,000 and you say, okay, 10%, I'm going to put it into a jar and we're going to label it capital. That $100 out of the $1,000 from your income is now capital. Over a 10-week period, that jar is going to grow to $1,000. That $1,000 you can buy a camera with that's going to make you money, or that $1,000 you can buy apparel to sell or whatever. So you have to take part of your income and turn it into capital. So did you have any formula of turning your income into capital?
Do I now?
No, did you? I'm talking about like while you were working a job, taking some of the income.
Oh, for sure.
And targeting it as capital.
Yeah. So when I was working and I had my clothing store, I'd take some of, this is after I'd lost everything and I was working really off of my $11 an hour, something like that income. I was living with my mom at this time, and I wrote out a list of everything that we needed to start the clothing store. And whatever I had left from my paycheck, my income, I would look, if it's $50, what on this list can I get with that $50? And so we'd order like, clothes, wholesale, things like that. And we turn those things into the money that we need. So we put that money aside until we're able to buy what we needed for our store. And then once we bought those things that we needed for our store, we then turn those into a profit.
For sure. So most people, you want to be an investor or you want to start something, but it's almost like, say there's a good camera, what, $2,000 with a lens, $1,000, let's just say. If you make $4,000 a month, where are you going to get $3,000 to buy a camera?
Bit by bit.
Piece by piece.
Piece by piece.
But because all of the money goes into one account, your income is your income. But as soon as you create some sort of separation, your income becomes now capital. This is like your capital investment, right? So the first thing you have to deploy is figuring out a way to create separation. I don't care if it's a 20%, 30%, 10%. That's what I did when I came home, and it was easier for me. Maybe it was easier. It was easier for me because I'll come home with tips from the Cheesecake Factory. I have $200, right? Why the camera moving like that? Like straight, it's that one actually. But let's say I make $200 from my tips for the day. I'll take 10% and put it into like this little envelope. Well, out of $200, it's just $20. I'll take another 10% and I'll put it in an envelope for tithe. I'll put another envelope, 10% into savings. So now I got these 3 envelopes. Out of the $200, I'm now missing $60. But I'm living or working off $140. What's interesting is once I started making this separation, it didn't seem like I was losing anything. I was talking to a guy earlier today and he said, I am really bad he said, I'm about to have an influx of money and I'm bad with influxes of money because if I have a bunch of money, it will soon be gone. But if you start separating, now the amount that you have is the amount that you will soon lose, spend, whatever, but you still have these other little buckets growing.
Yeah. So from an individual who is employee's perspective, that's like creating these buckets using your envelopes. I did that too. From a business owner's perspective, it sounds a lot like the profit first model, which is what I do in my business. Because what most business owners do, especially people who are just getting started, you take all your money and you put it in one account and you leave it there. And then you have expenses come and you're living out of that money, right? You're paying your personal bills out of that money. You're paying your business bills, your payroll, anything, your systems and everything. And then when you need that camera, you've overspent or you don't have the money, or when you have to pay taxes, you don't have the money. And so it's really important to have those accounts set up. I recommend the book. We're talking about Richest Man of Babylon. I also recommend Profit First for people who need to know how to distribute your money as an entrepreneur 100%. As well, because you'll have like a what you'll call a savings account or a profit account, where you determine what that profit account is used for. So you may want to take your profits and allocate it to investments, right? And so you know that if you're taking 20% of the revenue that you bring in each month, I do it on the 1st and the 15th, but if you take 20% of what you're bringing in total and you just have it growing, whether you use it this month or not, you just have it growing in that account. When it's time to buy an investment property or that camera, or you want to do something nice for yourself, you know that this is how much money you clearly have available, not to play with, but to use at your disposal, like however you want to use it.
Let me tell you what happens more often than not, and I'm sure you'll be able to attest to this. Let's say the camera's $2,000, we need $1,000 for a lens, is $3,000 over a year or so, or 6 months you've been saving, and you need this $3,000, you're gonna get to about $2,100, and you know what's gonna happen? Your tire's gonna blow out. Or something that is extremely important where you just have to spend this money that you had in this capital jar, you're going to have to spend it. What's interesting is if you didn't have this capital jar, you just figure it out, or you'll go without the thing, or you'll get a friend to drive you to work or something like that because you're tired. Something is going to happen where you're going to have to dig into this account. Now we have to exercise discipline.
Now we have to exercise discipline, but also even more strategy. So I guess you're talking to the person who's not an entrepreneur yet.
For sure.
But I am hearing it as an entrepreneur and what you need to be doing as an entrepreneur. So to get started, you're an individual, you are employed. And I mean, when I tell you these envelopes help, these envelopes help. So get your envelopes, guys. Get your envelope and mark them for tithes. Mark them, you know, right now it just might be savings, but determine what that savings is for. You might have an envelope for, like, you know, your fun, the thing, and that's a real thing, like how much you're able to spend, because you don't want to take your fun money out of your savings money, right? You want to have an envelope that says, this is how much I can spend this month on food and entertainment and all those things. Whatever those categories are in your envelope for bills and things like that. Then, as David was saying, once you have that one envelope, that's your envelope that you're going to turn into capital. Now you're going to use that and you're going to turn it into something that will yield you more money, right? This is the money that you multiply. Now you're in business. So now as a business owner, we're following the profit first model. We're not dealing with envelopes. We're now dealing with bank accounts. They're still labeled the same way though. So as a business owner, you know, what's your operating account? What's your tax account, your profit account, and the account in which you pay yourself to? That goes to your personal account. So for me, I have, from my business account, I have a portion that goes into my personal account, but it can't stop there because I like to travel, I like to eat, I like to shop, I like to just give money. And so I have broken down my personal account now into almost like a profit first kind of personal account, making sure that I still have enough money to take care of my personal life, but also putting money aside in savings for personal investments, things that won't go in the business name. Like, you got to break that part down too, so you really know. But also like for emergencies. So if a tire goes out, if a car has to go into the shop unexpectedly and there's a large bill that needs to be paid, it's not coming from that savings money that I collected from my business. It's coming strictly from my personal account because I pay myself payroll and I divvy that up now too.
I love it.
That is something that I just started this year though, because I noticed like, I pay myself in my personal account, period. But now divvying that money up is it makes it really, really clear to see where you're spending money very quickly and how quickly you're draining a certain portion of your money and what you're leveraging it too. And I just kind of had these accounts that I needed to make a decision on, like, do I close these accounts, blah, blah, blah. But it was the history with these accounts. I'm like, I don't want to lose that banking history. So I just said, I'll make it this. And then it just kind of like snapped to me, like, you need to apply the same kind of logic that you do with your business accounts to your personal account.
100%. So after we take that income and we allocate some to capital, we want to take that capital and deploy it into enterprise, meaning start a business. Before we invest in the thing that we're going to invest in, through this journey, you should be investing in yourself for sure.
First.
Because somebody actually asked the question, okay, I've got money and I want to invest the money into something that's going to make me more money. And there was a lot of answers thrown around. Okay, you can invest in this, you can invest in that. But I think the first thing, and it's going to sound very cliche, you know what my answer is going to be?
Personal development.
Invest in yourself. Invest in your ability to invest. Than just investing in the investment. Because if you don't know anything about the investment, if you don't know how the process of like saving this money to get a camera, you should be investing at least time into like understanding how to get clients when you get this camera, or understanding how to be a good photographer even before you get it. Start hanging around, and you might have to take some of that capital and invest it in education, because that's going to be just as important as getting the thing.